Hi, Analisa Six here with the Lady of Leisure and the Sober Curator to give you the October 2023 horoscope for the zodiac sign of Taurus for sun and rising placements. Let's go ahead and dive right in, Taurus. It's Libra season. Libra and Taurus are the two signs of the zodiac that are ruled by the planet Venus. And let's talk about Venus. We're going to start out with kind of addressing where Venus has been. So Venus has been in Leo since June. And Leo is the fixed fire sign that makes a hard aspect to Taurus. So they make what's called a square. So there's been a little bit of tension between where Venus has been in relation to where your rising or sun placement has been. And the area that Venus has been passing through, we had her retrograde and then, kind of kicking some dust, has been the area that has to do with home and family. A lot of times relationships to the female members of the family can be highlighted, but there's also been some, this area of the chart is always kind of debated on whether or not it has to do with female or male members of the family. I just am going to make it non-gendered focused. So let's just say that members of the family that we could be focusing on through this time. So if you had any conflict during the Venus retrograde, with any family members that, was something that you've been having to sort out. Maybe you're still sorting it out, but you're more kind of through the thick of the mess of it and you're having to kind of move things forward. That's a theme. Another theme here for Venus passing through has to do with aesthetics. So beautifying the home, improvements on the home, spending money on things that have to do with beautifying or making improvements on the home is also a theme here. Also, spending time with our partner. So if we're in a relationship, we might have felt more like we wanted to connect in a more introverted way at home. If we wanted to hunker in and kind of do more meals at home, watching movies at home, things that where we connect more in this kind of nurturing introverted way versus going out on dates or doing things more extrovertedly. That could have also been a theme during the time that Venus has been here. So the first week of October, Venus is still going to be in Leo. And so there might be part of that story wrapping up. And then Venus is going to enter Virgo around the 9th. And so Venus will be finally moving out of Leo after having been there since June and will be kind of starting a new story for us. And Virgo makes what's called a trine to Taurus. And so Earth likes Earth, and they make an easy flowing kind of aspect to each other for that reason. And Venus in Virgo is going to be hitting an area of the Taurus horoscope that has to do with self-expression. And what's interesting is that this area of the horoscope is where Leo traditionally rules. So even though Venus is going to be in Virgo, it's going to be hitting the house that Leo traditionally rules, which is the house that rules creative expression, self-expression, romantic expression, the way that we want to connect romantically. And so there's a big boost of creative energy that's happening for the month of October for the Taurus individual. So working on art projects, any kind of way that you can get your creative juices flowing, and also romantic juices. So if you feel like you want to connect more romantically to people in your life or romantic partners, that's also elevated for the month of October. We also start out October with Mercury in Virgo. So Mercury's already been passing through this area, and we had Mercury retrograde in this area. So some of these things have already been a theme. How do you express yourself? How do you share yourself? How do you share in general? And do you do it in a way that's more logical or linear, or is it more chaotic? And if so, how can we put more order maybe to how we do these things? Because Mercury ruling Virgo likes to put order to things. So that can also be, maybe our creative expression has been a little chaotic, and maybe with Mercury passing through Virgo, we've been trying to kind of lock it in or hone it in a way that makes more sense. There's a little bit more organized, I guess. This is a good time for organization. Mercury is going to be leaving Virgo early on, actually today. It's October 5th when I'm recording this. So October 5th, Mercury is going to be moving into the cardinal air sign of Libra and joining the sun. We have a lot in Libra right now. We have Pallas Athena, the sun, Mars, and Vertex, and the South Node all in Libra. So we have a Libra stellium. And then Mercury today is going to be joining that Libra party. And part of that story that's going on already with Libra season is the area that has to do with your health and also how you're of service in the world. And so this is the area where a lot of times we're reflecting on our daily routine and whether our routine is setting us up for success or if it's getting in the way of creating more functionality, I guess would be the word. So, Libra does have a tendency, like one of the shadow qualities of Libra can be avoidance, which then can sometimes result in an inability to organize or get things together. And so you might be feeling more inclined to want to do things that feed you in the moment versus things that lead to long-term success. And so you might be kind of with Mercury in Libra and the stellium in Libra at the beginning of the month. You might kind of be in this position of like, I know I need to do these things and I need to have a more linear or practical approach to them, but I just don't really feel like it right now. So I'm going to do what feels good. And that's something that you have to be really mindful of because sometimes that doesn't always promote good health. So how can we create positive structure, daily routines while also leaning into the aspects of Libra that are sometimes nice and feel good and are a little bit less rigid? On that same vein, we have Mars in Libra starting out the month, and Mars in Libra is going to kind of add a little bit of some bumpiness when it comes to us trying to have maybe more structure. Mars passing through this area of the chart can also lend towards our health not being in its best place. We might feel like we're having, to kind of figure out, okay, maybe things that worked in the past for my health aren't necessarily working now. So health is a focus, here. And hopefully once Mercury enters Libra and Mars moves out of this area, you might be kind of actually getting more bearings around what's going on with you and what you actually need to do to fix it and finding ways to put it into application in a positive way. But it's important that you really look at your daily routine and whether or not your daily routine is setting you up for success when it comes to all aspects. And when I say health, we're talking about physical health a lot of times, but it can also be mental and emotional health. Health is, from my perspective, more than just our physical. I have a mind, body, soul kind of view on health. So if our mind's not right, it doesn't really matter if our health, like what we're putting in our body is right, because that's still going to dysregulate us to some extent. I'm actually one of those people. I eat really well and I have all the right things in my diet, but when my mental or emotional health is off, it makes me feel like I'm eating junk food because of how dysregulatory it can be. So those are things to kind of keep in mind. Also, Mercury in an air sign passing through here can also lend towards a little bit of overthinking or anxiety. So that's something that you kind of want to be mindful of for the month of October too. How are you grounding yourself? It's really important for Taurus people to be grounded and find ways to kind of be in the body in a positive way. So that's something that you might feel like you're actively having to work more on over the month of October, just because of how some of this Libra energy is passing through. Mercury will end up moving into Scorpio. Let's talk about Mars too. Mars will move out of Libra. So Mars is going to move out of Libra into Scorpio around the 12th, and that's going to be the area of the chart that is opposite of Taurus. So Taurus and Scorpio are the polarity of each other. And so, you might be asking yourself during this time, what is my relationship to Scorpio energy? And Scorpio energy is the fixed water energy, so it's more emotion based. And it also has a relationship to death and transformation. So what is your relationship to transformation and letting things go, letting things die, metaphorically and physically? We're in that part of the year where the season has turned and the leaves are dying, the plants are starting to go dormant, and we kind of move away from this feeling of life and abundance. And a lot of people really love this time of year where that starts to happen, the fall. But then we get into the winter where things are dead and it kind of starts to become dreary and cold and hard after a while. And so, what's your relationship to that transition? And the other aspect that you can ask yourself about this, and there's that physical, kind of change into the season, but it also happens in life and stages of life where we're being asked to let go of things that maybe we've been doing for a long time. And maybe we have to reflect on, is this still serving me? And what is my relationship to this aspect of my life? And what's my relationship to moving on and letting go of things that in the past were working for me? And Taurus being the opposite of Scorpio, Taurus actually really likes to keep things the same or hold on to things. So, it's hard sometimes for a Taurus sun or rising person to experience a lot of change. Taurus likes to feel stable and secure. And when Scorpio comes, it kind of is here to change everything and, you know, metaphorically burn everything down, right? Like it's time to transmute and move forward. So you can ask yourself too, what's your relationship to change? What's your relationship to transformation? What's your relationship to letting go of something that you've known for so long that's comfortable? The area of the chart that this is moving into is relationships. This can be romantic partners, best friends, business partners. And so when you're being asked to reflect on your relationships, you might be reflecting on people in your life that bring more disruption than peace, and asking yourself, what's my relationship to this person? Why are they in my life? And is this somebody that I need to keep in my life? So you will probably be experiencing a little bit of turbulence in relationships over the month of October. And by the time that Mercury enters Scorpio on the 22nd, we're going to have Mercury and Mars in Scorpio, and then our sun is going to enter Scorpio on the 24th. And so once we're in Scorpio season and we have more of this Scorpio energy, we might be feeling more of a push into being more okay with letting go or releasing something. It still might not be totally comfortable for the Taurus dominant person to have to let go or release or say goodbye. It depends on what's in your chart. If you're a Taurus dominant person that has Scorpio in your chart, it might be a little easier for you than somebody who doesn't, because you're already a little bit inclined or wired to embrace some of the Scorpio tendencies. But if you're a Taurus person that, you know, doesn't have a lot of Scorpio or water energy, this time might be really painful. There's probably going to be some Taurus dominant people that are moving on or ending a relationship during this time, whether it's a romantic relationship or a best friendship or a business partnership. You might be in a position where things are coming to an end and it's time to move on. At the same time, sometimes endings come in many forms. It's not always a like, oh, I'm walking away from this person completely. Sometimes it means that the relationship is transforming into something else. And maybe there's a dynamic that is ending between you. Maybe there's been enough conversations or enough conflict where you've decided this isn't working and we need to find a new way if we're going to continue to have this arrangement. So those are themes that come up for the Taurus individual during the month of October. The moons that we're going to have, so on the, let's see here, October 28th, we're going to have, I'm sorry, I went too far. October 14th, we're going to have a new moon solar eclipse at 21 degrees of Libra. And the area that that's hitting for the Taurus horoscope is the area that has to do with your daily routine, how you're of service to the work that you do, and then also your health. And so this is also a positive time if you have been struggling to set a routine that sets you up for success, or if you're having health issues. This is a time where there might be kind of a make or break happening, where you're forced into having to make a decision that is for the better. I'm putting a positive aspect on it, but sometimes what is for the better feels bad. So I know, like, an example for me was when I had to get rid of my Jeep at the beginning of the year. I did not want to get rid of that car at all, but it was for the best, because that car, since I bought it, had thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars worth of problems. And every time I would get something fixed, I had this tiny little window where things worked and it was great before the next thousands of dollars of problems happened. And so even though I liked that car and I didn't want to get rid of it, I don't have disposable income to that degree where I can spend thousands and thousands of dollars on a car that's constantly breaking. I wish that I was, because I would love to have all kinds of cars that are fun, you know, and fix them if they break. Like, that is a fantasy that I have in life someday, of being somebody that can afford to do that. I'm not, though. So it's just, you know, it's not constructive for me to have that. So that was something where I had to look at my quality of life and say, this doesn't make sense right now. It's not constructive. And so it's kind of that thing of like what we want versus what we need, right? Where we have to look and say, this isn't necessarily something that I want right now, but it's something that I need and something that makes the most sense. Sometimes eclipses do that, where they push us more into the areas of life that we need versus what we want. And so that's something happening for you around your health, your work. The work that you're doing might be changing in some capacity, and how you're doing it. You might have to be more open-minded to that change, which sometimes can be hard for Taurus to be open to, because Taurus likes to find a way that works and stick to it, you know, and find a tried and true way to do things. But as we know, life doesn't really work that way. There's always things that are kind of pushing us into having to learn and evolve and grow more. So that's something that is, you know, going to be happening for you in that way. Health, how you're of service, daily routine. The other moon that we have going on is on October 28th. We're going to have a full moon lunar eclipse at 5 degrees Taurus. So this is happening in your sign. And full moons, again, are a time of letting go and releasing, and also usually calling something in, manifesting something, or setting intentions for something that we want to manifest. And the area that this is hitting for you is the area that has to do with the identity and your relationship to self. And so if you've been reflecting a lot on who you are to yourself, this is a time where you might feel like the things that don't feel in alignment with that self, you're ready to walk away from or reestablish in some way or call in some way. I remember there was a period of time when I moved out here where certain things that I had really resonated with prior to moving out here just weren't anymore. And it was really interesting. And I kind of feel like places have a tendency to do that. Like when you move and kind of uproot or completely change your life, you start to kind of feel differently about things that you used to feel really at home in. And these eclipses can do that to us too, even if we're not necessarily changing our location or changing our job, even if we're not necessarily overtly changing something about our lives. You know, when you kind of feel like it's like a wind blows in of a different energy, where like all of a sudden you feel like, I feel differently about this. I don't feel in alignment with this anymore. Those kinds of winds of change that blow in happen a lot of times around eclipses. And so there's going to be that kind of feeling around this energy, especially for you when it comes to your sense of self. And so if you're feeling drawn to changing something in your life or letting go of things, you know, like I said, that just don't resonate for you anymore, October 28th and days surrounding that are going to feel that way. And that's also, you know, we're in Scorpio season by then. Scorpios are, you know, they symbolize that letting go and transmuting and transforming energy. So it's the season that we will be in. All of us will probably be feeling some layer of that around that time of year, time of the month, I should say. All right, Taurus, I hope that was easy to follow. I feel like I'm tripping on my words a lot right now, which I'm not a fan of. I always kind of feel that way. And then I watch these back and I sound a lot better than I think I sound, but I'm sorry if things felt redundant. I was tripping on my words a little bit. I'm easily distracted in my head, which sometimes makes my words feel jumbled while I'm thinking other things. But anyways, that's your horoscope for October. I wish you the best of luck. It's going to be a little bit of a bumpy month, but hopefully we all get through it okay. And if you appreciated this video, feel free to hit like, subscribe to get notified on when they come out every month. And you can find me at ladyofleisure.com and thesobercurator.com. And I will see you guys next month.